I loved cars from a very young age. The colors, the sounds, but most of all, the sense of freedom a car provides.
One more time, Zack. You say, let's get him.
Let's get him. Good.
Power Wheels, Matchbox cars, and Need for Speed video games took up most of my childhood.
Right here's a yellow Porsche.
I loved it. I couldn't get enough. My father was a bit of a car guy himself. He owned many cars over his lifetime, but only one stuck out. A 1980 Mazda Rx-7 with a 12A rotary engine, 5-speed manual transmission, and finished in a sunrise red paint job. My dad loved that car. He took it all across the country. Eventually, that car was rear-ended, and it never drove properly again. But back to me. When I turned 16, I knew it was my destiny to find my own wheels. This journey led me down a multitude of paths. Subaru Foresters, Infiniti G35s, and Honda Civics filled my Craigslist search boxes. Nothing sparked my interest. In the back of my head, I always knew I wanted something a little more fun. Something edgy, but I didn't quite know what. After months of soul-crushing Craigslist searches, I received a text from my friend Nick Sander. The text read, "I just wanted to tell you something. I don't know why, but I feel compelled to tell you to buy that FB RX-7 you sent in the group. It keeps popping up to me on Craigslist, and I think it's something you should consider buying." That one text message was all the reason I needed to begin tracking down my future RX-7. The first one I looked at was a 1979 Leather Sport Edition. It had been sitting in a barn in Indiana for a couple of years. My dad and I loaded up the car, and we went to check it out. After a long inspection and its failure to start, we decided to pass on that car. A few weeks later, a maroon 1983 RX-7 came up for sale. Being a lot closer to home, we checked out that car as well. It had a Weber carburetor, lightened flywheel, and racing tires on it. It was the first RX-7 I had ever driven. While the price was modest, the car was a lot to handle and would have made a terrible daily driver given its modifications. So unfortunately, we had to pass. Just then, as luck would have it, a third car came up for sale in my area. A 1985 Mazda RX-7 with a 12A rotary engine, 5-speed manual transmission, finished in a sunrise red paint job. With one easy payment of $2,500, it could be all mine. While I had prior matters to attend to, I gave my dad all the money with the strict instructions of go buy that car. On September 20th, 2015, at the ripe age of 18, I purchased my 1985 Mazda RX-7 I would name Rose. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack. Oh, can't turn that way. And today I'm making a video just saying some cool news that I've been wanting to make a video about, and I'll explain why in a second, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I bought a car. I bought a new car. Once I get it registered, that's why I've been waiting to make this video, but I literally can't hold my excitement. So, there it is. 1985 Mazda RX-7 GSL. So this is the car. As you could tell, I was over the moon with excitement of my new car. I fell in love from day one. I drove it everywhere. Rain, snow, or shine, I was behind the wheel of my little old Mazda. I even took it to my senior year homecoming dance. It seemed as though there were green lights for miles and miles ahead. But only 6 weeks into ownership, the trouble began. It all started with a routine trip to get new tires. I took the car to my local tire shop to get a fresh set of rubber. Not long after I left, I got a call.
Hi, Mr. Pradel? We were wondering if you could come back to the shop. We have a safety concern with your Mazda.
When I arrived at the shop, the wheels were off my car. The technician asked me if I could see what was wrong. Upon further inspection, I did. The rear brake caliper was missing. Gone. To add insult to injury, my wheels had been drilled and filed for some reason unknown to me, making them horribly out of balance and dangerous to drive on. I was devastated. For legal reasons, the shop would not let me leave with the car. So up onto a flatbed, it went off to go get new brakes. 2 weeks went by and I got my car back. First order of business was to get rid of the hacked up wheels. Because of the car being so old, I had to buy custom wheels in order for them to fit properly on the car. I opted for Diamond Racing SC rims manufactured just over the border in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Everything was right in the world again. Yes, this is me getting asked to the winter dance by my soon-to-be girlfriend. The sign said, "Your car must be this height to say no to winter." The sign went above my roof. I was as happy as a clam. But if this car taught me anything, it's to soak up the good times while you can. Because all good things must come to an end. I blew up my little Mazda's engine. On my lunch break from school, I blew an apex seal in my 12A Rx-7, which is game over for a rotary engine. My heart hit rock bottom. My pride and joy became a multi-$1,000 paperweight. In the following months, Rose became the subject of art projects, photo shoots, and the eyesore of the neighborhood. For as much as I loved cars, I had no idea really how to work on them. I had our local Mazda dealer look at the car. They wouldn't fix it. I took it to our trusted local auto shop. They wouldn't fix it. After 2 failed attempts and a fat towing charge later, the car was back at the house, still with a blown engine. What was I supposed to do? I had no skills, no money, and was starting college in a couple of months. As I scoured the internet, I kept seeing a common result: a 13B. My car came with a 12A rotary engine, but the newer models came with a 13B. The 13B was bigger, more powerful, and easier to maintain. It was a triple win. The only thing I needed was the engine itself. In order to do that, I needed a sacrifice. My victim of choice was a 1987 Mazda Rx-7 I found on Craigslist for $1,000. I talked the guy down to $850, and drove away with my new engine, plus a whole bonus car fully attached to it. Not even a week into my purchase, the engine was yanked from the chassis with the help of my friends. To date, this was the largest automotive achievement for me. Once that was done, the blown motor needed to come out of Rose. This, I decided to tackle on my own. With some hand tools and a good playlist, I got the engine out by myself in one night. I might have hooked up the straps wrong and dropped the engine once, but alas, the blown 12A was out of Rose, and the car was ready for a 13B. This whole time I had been filming and documenting my progress on the car, and it seemed to gain some internet traction.
We just passed 900 subscribers on the channel. We hit 1,000 subscribers this month.
We passed 4,000 subscribers and over 800,000 total views, which is absolutely awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. Not a ton of traffic, but enough from one specific viewer. A viewer I knew I had to meet face to face. He emailed me saying, "Hey, I think I used to own your car." You never really know who's out there when you post videos online. You never know who's watching. Luckily for me, someone I really wanted to meet was watching. His name was Flavian, and he used to own Rose. Flavian emailed me one day proclaiming that he used to own my car, and like any other YouTube comment, I took it with a grain of salt. Well, a bucket of salt, really. How could this guy have owned my car? What are the chances? We talked back and forth, and I asked him for the VIN number. A VIN number is a specific sequence of letters and numbers that is unique to every car. It is nearly impossible to guess. But he emailed me the VIN for Rose. It was true. This mystery man online used to own my car. But before I got to meet him, I began to do some digging of my own. The first generation Mazda Rx-7 was built from 1978 to 1985.
When you first see the Mazda Rx-7, you begin to understand why it has become a legend among today's sports cars.
While the first 2 years were designated the SA by code, the last 5 years were called the FB.
Maybe you missed the opportunity to own one of these extraordinary cars when it was new, but now you have another chance, the Mazda Rx-7.
Over 400,000 first-generation RX-7s were built. Rose was completed on August 7, 1984, at the Hiroshima assembly plant. The car was then put on a boat and shipped through the New York port. From there, the paperwork seems to sort of fade away. Because the car was built before the time of Carfax, or any other computer-based car information system, it kind of goes dark. Handwritten records weren't transferred over. What I did find was that at some point, the car was sold from Family Hyundai in Tinley Park at the beginning of its life. So I gathered my things and took the car there. Unfortunately, the original dealer had been demolished, and no one inside was any help. So I tipped my hat, and I left. This idea of where my car came from started to swirl around in my head more and more. I knew I had to meet the person on the other side of my email exchange, the viewer who used to own the car. We talked back and forth exchanging details of the car. He was impressed with the work I had done on it, and how I had changed the car from an automatic to a manual. Wait, what? I told him he was mistaken. The car had always had a manual transmission. He said when he had it, it was automatic. I rushed back to the Carfax, and lo and behold, Rose was originally automatic. My curiosity grew. I asked him if I could speak to him, and he said yes.
I think it was 8-9 years ago. I completely repainted it. I put those wheels on, the BBS mesh wheels on. the back carpet I replaced because the seat's different color. Yeah, pretty much it. You know, did a full tune-up, changed all the fluids, belts, oils, everything that I needed to, you know, to run perfect. I bought it from an old man in Palos Park. It was his daughter's college car. She went to college, she used it, and then she graduated and she moved out of state and never came back, and it was just sitting in his garage. Oh, I used to take it cruising all the time in the summertime. Sunroof down, windows down. I mean, it was like the best cruising car that I've had. And everywhere I took it, people loved that car because it was in such a good condition.
Speaking with Flavian was amazing. I was standing in the garage in which Rose once called home. Even more exciting, the photos he shared. There it is. Rose. Flavian owned the car from 1997 until about 2008, where he sold it to someone north of the city. Flavian loved the car, and I couldn't blame him. I had to get it running again. So, with a newfound history of the car, I set my eyes on getting the thing running again. Where we left in the story, Rose had a new engine, but it wasn't running yet. Well, it didn't take long to get the car back up and running, and with the help of Adam Kearns, the rotary god, Rose had life again. This time, with a 13B. I fell in love all over again.
Alright, so I drove here without a sticker. Is everyone ready? Is everyone ready? Yeah.
With a running car, it was time to go sell the old thrashed parts. A good friend of mine bought and sold used rotary parts, so I threw the entire engine in the back of my car and headed to his place. Upon arrival, I saw the corpse of another car. I was in the right spot. Upon unloading the blown 12A engine, my friend stopped me. "I thought this was a 1985 engine," he said. "It is. It came out of my 1985 RX-7, I replied. "No, this is a 1982 engine. Look at these markings. And the flywheel's too small for 85. This is an 82. I was shocked. The engine and transmission were replaced at some point with incorrect units. My friend didn't mind, but he just wanted me to know the difference. We shook hands and parted ways. couldn't shake from my head the time from 2008 to 2015. There was very little information on the car between those two dates. According to the Carfax, there was a new owner on April 10th, 2012, and on May 14th, 2013, but no other information. The car had passed 25 years old, so there was no official odometer readings to record, a black spot in the history. But in that black spot must have been when the car went and got a new engine and transmission. But just as luck would have it, the power of the internet swooped back in to help me. I was sitting on the couch one night watching TV when I got a text message from our good friend Flavian. Attached was an image of the old title of Rose, and under it were the names of the previous owners. I had a name. With the help of Google and some spare time, I got an address to go with the name. Well, 3 addresses actually. I had no idea which one was the right one, so I sent a letter to all 3. The letter read, "My name is Zack, and I own a 1985 Mazda Rx-7. I believe you used to own it as well." I left my contact info at the bottom and sent the letters on their way. It wasn't long before I got a call. I was shocked. An email conversation later, and I had my info. The previous owner, Michael, was kind enough to send a letter explaining his family's time with the car. It read as so. "We dearly remember Little Red and hope you had great service from it. Just some things about her to provide you with some history. She was purchased in 1987 from Thompson Toyota Used Cars in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Red was purchased as a surprise 16th birthday gift to my daughter. For a 16-year-old high school student, we liked the 2-seat feature, sporty look, and relatively low power for her first driving experience. We will always remember the reaction of our daughter as she walked home from the bus stop and saw the car parked in the driveway. Red was driven regularly to high school for her sophomore and junior years. We moved back to the Chicago area in 1988. With our daughter away at school, Red became the car to drive locally. There's a photo of the birds who just loved to go car riding all the time in Little Red. The birds were 2 Bichons named Neiman and Nordstrom. Our daughter graduated from college in 1993, but we still kept our little RX-7 until 1997. I have enclosed several photos of the car when it was up for sale, I believe in early 1997. During that time, I remember tracking down a replacement RX-7 side insignias for the front quarter panels. Someone stole them off the car when it was parked somewhere. Seeing her brought back most of the best memories. There it is, 1987 to 1997. Rose, formerly known as Little Red, had lived out its days as a great get-around car for a man and his daughter. Unfortunately, I called the Toyota dealer in Pennsylvania, and they had no record of the car. They actually purged all their records before 2000. Rose was loved and well taken care of by Michael and his family, and seeing photos of it from all those years ago brought a smile to my face. I was so proud of my car. It brought me so much joy. But as we learned before, all good things must come to an end. It started with a squeak, a tinny squeak while shifting gears, but the squeak grew. Eventually, I couldn't take it. I had to figure it out. On August 23rd, 2019, Rose was pronounced dead. The Midwestern rust had taken advantage of a weak spot in the RX-7 chassis and separated the rear suspension from the body. the car was no longer safe to drive. The squeaking was the body hitting itself as the crack drew larger and larger. Unlike before, no amount of work would make Rose whole again. I could have chopped it up into a million pieces, added a bunch of tubing, and pieced it back together, but it wouldn't have been the same. I thought about all the people who rode in the car, and I couldn't sacrifice their safety. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters most. The people I enjoyed the car with, and the people who came together to enjoy the car decades ago. Rose started life as a gift from a father to a daughter, became a little cruiser in a big town, and ended its life as a lesson, a tool that helped me find out who I was. I owned Rose during some of the most formative years of my life. I learned how to work on it, drive it, and appreciate cars, all from Rose. But most of all, I spent those 4 years smiling behind the wheel of the happiest little car on earth. Rose was stripped of everything and sent to the big junkyard in the sky. It is November 5th, 2019, and it's Rose's final day at the house. There is a scrap collector coming to pick up the car to bring it to a junkyard. To fill its place, I purchased a blue 1985 RX-7. The car had no engine and would be receiving the one formerly in Rose. Yes, the same engine I pulled from that $850 FC RX-7 that lived in Rose will now live on in another car. Rose will never really be gone. As long as I'm in an RX-7 with the people I love, Rose's spirit will always live on.